Hello everyone. Please note that this is a NotebookLM video presentation. Thank you NotebookLM. Hope you find it useful.
All right, let's dive in. We're looking at two absolutely incredible new research papers today, and they suggest something really profound is happening where human and artificial intelligence meet. It's like we're stumbling upon a universal blueprint for reality itself. So what on earth does that actually mean? Let's break it down. So it all kicks off with this really simple but honestly super weird question. How can an AI that has only ever read text, a large language model, how can it possibly understand what you and I see? I mean, really think about that for a second. Your brain, it's processing photons, light, color, all through wet biological neurons. An LLM, it's crunching words and sentences on silicon chips in some massive data center. I mean, on the surface, you couldn't imagine two systems that are more different, right? The inputs are different, the hardware is different, they live in completely separate worlds. And yet, and this is the kicker, two absolutely stunning new research papers are pointing to this astonishing connection. They're suggesting that somehow, despite all those differences, both our brains and these text-only AIs they're building a surprisingly similar map of reality. Okay, so let's dig into the first piece of the puzzle. This comes from a pretty wild experiment that directly links a language model to what's happening inside the human brain. The setup was actually super clever. They had people lie in a powerful MRI scanner and just look at thousands of different pictures. While that was happening, the scanner was recording all the activity in their visual cortex. Now, for the other side of the equation, scientists took human-written captions for each of those images and fed them into a large language model to turn them into, a mathematical representation. So the big question was, could you train a simple model to find a direct map, a translation, between the brain activity patterns and the LLM's math? And the results were, they were just jaw-dropping. The model could actually reconstruct what the person was seeing with startling accuracy, based only on the brain scan. I mean, look at this example right from the paper. The person saw, and I quote, a cat poking its head through a small window in a stone wall. And what did the AI decode from just the brain scan? A cat looking out of the window. It's basically reading a picture directly out of someone's mind. It's incredible. So, what's the secret sauce here? Why does this work so unbelievably well? Well, it turns out it's not just about identifying objects. The thing that made the LLM's representation match the brain so perfectly was its ability to grasp the entire context of the scene, the relationships, the whole shebang. When the scientists tried to just use a list of objects, or only the nouns, or only the verbs, the connection to the brain activity was way, way weaker. It turns out our brains, just like these advanced AIs, are all about the big picture. Okay, so this link between the brain and an LLM is amazing for sure. But is it just a fluke, a one-off curiosity? Well, a second paper suggests no. It's actually part of a much bigger, much more fundamental pattern that we're seeing across the entire field of AI. So get this. Researchers looked at 78 different AI vision models, and they spotted this really striking pattern. The better the models got, the more competent they were at all sorts of visual tasks, the more their internal wiring started to look the same. Basically, the stronger an AI gets, the more it thinks like all the other strong AIs. It's like they're all converging on the one best way to see the world. The researchers have this great name for it. They call it the Anna Karenina principle of AI. From that famous opening line of the novel, all happy families are alike, each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And it seems to be the exact same thing with AI. There are a million ways for a model to be weak and get things wrong. But as they get really, really good, as they get closer to the best possible solution, they all start to look remarkably similar. But here is where it gets absolutely nuts. This convergence isn't just happening between, say, vision models. No, the researchers found that as language models got better at language, their internal map of concepts started to look more and more like the map inside the best vision models. Let that sink in. An AI that has only ever read books is building a model of the world that looks just like the one built by an AI that has only ever seen pictures. So, what in the world is going on here? How can two systems, trained on completely different stuff, end up with the same map of reality? Well, the answer might actually go back thousands of years. It's this really deep idea called the platonic representation hypothesis. And the theory goes like this. All these different AIs, doesn't matter if they're learning from images or text, they aren't just memorizing surface-level patterns. Nope. What they're really doing is independently discovering a shared statistical model of the underlying reality that generates all that data.
The best way to think about it is with Plato's famous allegory of the cave, right? All the data we feed these systems, the text, the images, the sounds, it's all just shadows on a cave wall. And what are our brains and these AIs trying to do? They're both trying to figure out the true forms, the real things out in the world that are casting those shadows. And because there's only one single reality casting all those different shadows, they're all arriving at the same answer.
And this is where everything snaps together. It brings us right back to the beginning. Because if this platonic theory is right, if there really is this universal blueprint of reality that anyone or anything can discover, then it's more than just a cool observation. It should be an incredibly powerful tool.
A tool that would let us do something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. A tool powerful enough to teach a vision AI how to see more like a human by using only the mind of a language model as its teacher. And that is exactly the mind-bending experiment the scientists from that first paper decided to run.
So they took a pretty standard AI vision model, but instead of training it the normal way, to just recognize objects, they trained it to do something really weird. They trained it to look at an image and predict the mathematical concept, the embedding, that a language model would create for that image's caption. And the result? It was just astonishing. This new AI, the one trained on the LLM's abstract, platonic map of reality, became a better model of the human visual brain than any of the other top vision models. Even ones that were trained on way more images. It wasn't even close.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that our brain's visual system isn't just a simple object detector. It's building this incredibly high-level, abstract model of the world. And this model is so fundamental, so deeply connected to the actual structure of reality, that you can discover its blueprint just by studying the patterns in language.
Which of course leaves us with one last, truly mind-bending question. If our own brains, the most complex things we know of, and our most advanced AIs are both converging on the exact same map of reality, just from looking at its different shadows, where does that map end?